My name is Shola Shubumi. I'm your moderator for today. I am delighted to welcome you to today's session or today's webinar, which is Navigating the International Application Process, Tips for Crafting Strong Applications, Understanding Admission Requirements, and Overcoming Cultural Barriers, which is brought to you by IGN Life Science Foundation. So a brief introduction. Applying to institutions abroad can be sort of a daunting task, and figuring out what schools are looking for or what admission requirements each school requires and how to present yourself in the best way in such a competitive pool is a huge feat. So of course a lot of people face challenges, and even after they've gotten the admission, a lot of cultural nuances can make things difficult to navigate or challenging to navigate. But today we're here to break it down and make this process more accessible to everybody. And we've gathered insights and strategies from experts in the field and for people who have done this successfully to tell us how we can craft strong and authentic applications, and so that we can understand what universities are looking for and how to overcome those cultural barriers that might seem very overwhelming. So our goal for today is to provide you with practical tools and guidance that makes you feel more confident. And we have very, very exciting speakers to talk to us about that. We have a speaker from France, Nsogoro Willie. We have another speaker from the USA, Nzube Ohalite, and a speaker from Canada, Dr. Peter Iseshile. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So without further ado, I would like to pass the baton to the founder of the IGN Life Science Foundation to give us an introduction and a welcome note. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shubami, and a very big welcome to everyone today. Thank you for your time. Like Shubami has said, I won't be taking much of your time. IGN is, as most of us know, is focused on promoting life science, and one of the major reasons why we have this today is to make sure that everyone who is probably fresh graduates from masters, BSc, or PhD, whichever category you fall into, you have the right knowledge to progress to the next career, regardless of your location, your background, whatever. So you don't have whatever challenge you have, it's best to hear from the experts, and that's why we have this today. We have people who have gone through this stage and they have done well for themselves, and now we have the privilege to have them discuss and share their experiences, share available opportunities for us to learn from, and so we can go through that with less limitations, less challenges as well. So I want to welcome everyone once again. Thank you very much. The name is Davis Eban, and I'm connecting from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you. Have a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you, Davis, for that introduction. Because we have a very jam-packed session today, we're trying to move as fast as possible so we can get the most out of our time. So without further ado, I would like to introduce us to our first speaker for today, Nsogoro Willie, who is joining us all the way from France. She's currently in France and she has a deep understanding of the challenges students face when applying abroad. And today she'll be sharing insights on how to stand out in the global applicant pool. Basically, she'll be sharing our journey with us and giving us tips on how to craft application. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Nsogoro Willie. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Nsogoro Willie, and I'm joining you from Paris, France. I'm trying to not go so speak too much. Okay, so like she said, I'm just going to be sharing my journey. I think that's going to help like in giving you ideas on how to craft your own application. So I came to study my master's degree in France in 2021 September. I actually have a background in industrial chemistry from the University of Benin, and my studies here was in sustainable industrial engineering. So that's what I did, my master's here, and I came on a fully funded scholarship, Total Energies. So I'm already done with that. What else? I'm from Akwa Ibom. I'm a Nigerian. And so about my application to France. So although I did not have a background in engineering, I have a background in industrial chemistry, like I mentioned, but it's in physical sciences. So when I was applying to study, I kind of like pointed out in my right from my statement of purpose why the change of field. So I did not leave any doubt in the minds of the admission board, just for them to know, okay, this is why I'm changing field. I have interest in sustainability, I have interest in operations management, and I felt like doing an engineering degree or having an engineering degree is going to help me with the technical know-how to better excel in that field. So I kind of stated that out when I was applying to study to come to France to do my master's degree. Generally in France, the application period is it's from September right now. October, sorry, right now. So for France, they apply through Campus France. It's like a platform that permits you to apply to as many schools as possible in France. So right now it's open. So this is mostly for the non-European students. So if you're thinking of coming to France to study, you have to sign up with them, and then it permits you to apply to like 7 schools. Of course, it's not all the schools that are using their platform, but no matter what, you're going to have to pass through them because for your visa process, they will be involved. So yes, that's the platform you use. For me, when I was applying, I first of all got my admission before I applied on Campus France. And then sometimes the schools here in France, they do have interviews. In fact, most of the schools, they have interviews. So when once your application, you're pre-selected, you're going to be invited for an interview. And for me, I feel like when once you have gotten to the interview point, that's like an easy part of it. Like you don't need to, you should know that you're already inside anyways. So then the interview just basically to know, okay, why France? Why do you want to study in France, and why the course? It's basically for you to like explain what you wrote in your motivation letter, your personal statement, anyhow you wish to address it. And for France, their own motivational letter is mostly a 1-page. I mean, they don't state it like, for example, in UK, if they're applying to UK, they could state it, okay, it should not be more than 1,000 words or 500 words. In some schools, they said that. But in France, they don't necessarily state it, but they normally use the word motivation letter or cover letter. For me, I advise you, if you're applying, you should just use a 1-page to do it. Like you don't need to tell the whole story of your life. You just need to like go straight to the point on why you want to study, who you are, like your background, why you want to study, and why you should be considered for a master's program. What else? Okay, and then immediately after that, for France, they have like a jury that they sit after they've gotten all the candidates. They have a jury they sit to decide, and they choose if they pick or not. I think the only down part I would say in France is like they have like low acceptance rate because they have like very small size classes. Like they don't take like a lot of students. Except for the private schools, of course, but for the government schools and the really affordable schools, they really like reduce the number of students they take, and they have like, I mean, the school fees is not on the high side, so they have like a lot of persons that come to apply. And normally, I saw they look at your transcript just to see what level you like in terms of if you had good grades, of course. So that thing that plays a role. But like I said, even if you have another background, you should always really state it out in the statement of purpose why you want to change your field. Try to be convincing. Like don't just leave that question out there. Try to answer it in your statement of purpose. Okay, what else? I'm trying to go straight to the point as possible, so I don't want to beat around the bush. I think that is it. And when once the jury chooses you, you're going to get a response from them, and then the next thing is for you to go for your visa. And as well, I forgot to mention, so if I'm to summarize, like in terms of the requirements that you need to apply to France, I'm going to say right now, you should make sure you have your transcript. You don't need to have an official transcript, just for me to say. When I was applying, I did not use an official transcript. I used an unofficial transcript. I literally prepared my transcript myself. So what helped me was that I knew my CGPA. I was lucky enough to know. You can ask one of your lecturers anyway, so they'll tell you. So, and I knew what's the system, how they calculate the CGPA University of Benin. So I knew like in 100 level, 200 level till 400 level, how many percentage they're going to use. And since I knew this, like the methodology they used to calculate CGPA, I just got a template from someone and I was able to prepare my transcript and just titled it unofficial, honestly, because we know sometimes getting transcripts could be like, it could be like a tug of war. So honestly, I did not want that to delay my application process. So I just prepared an unofficial transcript, and yeah, that was what I used to apply. And secondly, for your CV, you need like an academic CV. I call it, I mean, I think they call it an academic CV because you have to put something related to your academics. For example, your project, like what you did in your final year project. And if you can, please make it one page. And for Europe, it's, I mean, if you're applying for Nigeria, you don't need to really make it to be, because sometimes people use Europass. You can use it, it's okay. So there's some schools that kind of impose strict with it, but for most schools I know of, they're not strict with it. When I was applying, I not use Europass. I'm not sure if I really knew about it. So I just used like the normal CV I had on Microsoft Word, and that's what I used to apply. But right now you have like Canva, so you can always go to Canva, and then you see like a lot of CV templates that is going to allow you to like, you know, modify it, and then you use and apply. And if you can, please just shorten it to one page. Just shorten it to one page if you can. Like you don't need to, if any experience you have does not relate to the degree you're going for or what you're going for, I don't think you should put it. Only put things that are going to make you stand out, things that are related to what you're going for. And then if you have like certifications, like you took like Coursera certifications or those other courses that you did, they can take online, put it, they add it there. I think they could stand up for it, especially if they're coming from a different field. Yeah, for me, I did some of those Excel courses, so I added it there as well. And then you include like your objective, like why you're applying. You know, you're applying for a master's degree, so in a particular field. And maybe if you have it tailored to each school, you can just like change it and say, okay, I'm applying for a master's program in this particular course in this school. So that's it, the academic CV. Make sure you put your project at least, and try to tailor it to be related. Try to highlight the skills that are necessary for that program you're going for. And what else you need is going to be, if you don't have your certificate, you can use your statement of purpose. It's okay. For me, I finished school in 2019, and then by the time I left Nigeria, I did not yet have my certificate. So I used my statement of purpose. So it's okay. Nobody's going to penalize you for that. So you can use your statement of purpose. So apply for it, and it's okay. And then another thing you need is to prepare like 2 referees, you know, that you're going to use during your application, because they're surely going to ask you for that. For me, I had 2 referees. I reached out to my professors back in school. So I think if you're working right now, I assume everybody is a student. Okay, let's say that some persons that are working. So if you have started working already, it's good that you have at least one academic referee as well. I think it's good because it testifies to your academic abilities. So it'd be nice to have at least one academic referee, even if you want to take someone from work or like a recommendation from work, it's okay. And then always let your referees know that the letter they're sending to you, it should be it should be letter headed, and if they have stamp or the sign, that is good. It's just like officialize the letter and shows that you did not do it like, you know, behind. It's not you that did it. It's really official. And then there's some schools that they are going to ask you to just give the email of your referee, and they'll be the ones to contact them, like send them an email, and your referee is going to upload the reference letter themselves. But there's some other schools, it's okay, you upload it. Like most schools I've seen in France, you upload your reference letters yourself. Other schools, they send it to the referees, and that could be a blocking point for you. So if you are applying to a school that they don't allow you to upload your reference letter yourself, make sure you are going to give them a referee that is going to respond to you, because sometimes you can give a referee and the person doesn't look at his email, or is just too busy to, you know, to care about such things. And so it's really important that the person that you're going to give as your referee should be aware that you're applying. You should be aware that you're applying for something, and you should be expecting, an email if that's the case. Okay, another thing that you need, okay, I think I've already talked about the cover letter, so I don't know if you need me to put more details there. I think I've already said it, like, you know, what the things you should put in your cover letter. Maybe I should just add extra. So apart from just talking about your background, who you are and what you're going to do, I think it's important that you go and look at the course you're going for. For example, I did sustainable industrial engineering. So what I did, I went to the course website to check what are the courses that they offer and if I found something that interests me. So let's say, for example, they did something in circular economy, and that is very, if I recall well. So I put, oh, I'm a proponent of sustainable development goals, and I see you guys are talking about circularity. You know, I'm really interested in this because I'm looking forward to be a part of this course because it's something that interests me. Like I can't imagine the kind of skills I'm going to learn at the end of it. So it shows that you have made your research. You know, I also included like because they had like some laboratories and some research that they were doing. Even though I wasn't interested in research anyways. So I kind of thought, okay, yeah, I know I saw this research. And the person's name was like Maria Di Gosco. I'm just using any name. And I said, okay, I'm looking forward to working with this professor because I read about his research. I read about our research. Of course, I just did. I mean, if you go on the school website, you're going to see everything about the professors and about the courses. I feel like that shows that, you know, that you're interested, you're motivated, and you went like an extra step to find out about what you're doing. So that's convincing as well. And then you could also add something, even if it's not France, wherever you are, like you add something in that city of that school. For example, for mine, it was at Grenoble, just in Paris, where I did my master's. So I put, because I checked the city, and the city is known for like a tourist, is like a tourist attraction center, and they have like these mountains and different things. I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to, you know, hiking, you know, doing a new exercise. So it just I feel it's a good point. You don't need to like write so much, just like one sentence. It just shows that you have made your research and like, you know, you're serious about it. I think that's some tips I can give you in the cover letter. Okay, I think I've touched everything. About the application. So I would like to end here so to allow others to add to it so I don't say everything. Hello.
Hi. Okay, thank you very much. I think that was very, very insightful for people that, you know, are interested in doing in France and maybe other European countries. Before we go ahead, I wanted to ask a question. You mentioned something Europass. I'm not quite sure what that is. I think maybe you can elaborate on what that is for people who don't know what that is.
Okay, Europass it's like a website, like it helps you to draft your CV. Like I think it just like puts you know, for example, how on Canva you have like the template. So on Europass they have like the European standard CV kind of thing, where you just like put your details, fill in your school, your background, everything, and it creates a kind of European standard CV for you. But normally they ask for a picture. So that's just what Europass is. But it's not compulsory, like I mentioned, because I hear some persons say it's paid. So I'm not really certain. So don't stress yourself about it if you go and see it's paid. Honestly, if it's paid, just use Canva or use Microsoft. It's not really a penalizing factor. You know, like I said, do not use it.
Okay, so thank you very much for that presentation. You really shed some light on some key aspects of crafting a standard, of the things that are required. So before, I think a lot of people might have questions. I'd like to open the floor for any questions. So if anyone have any specific points that they'd like to explore further or they feel like needs clarifications, I think this is the right time to do that. You can just raise your hand. You can either raise your hand or you can drop your question in chat. So we'll be waiting for, okay, someone raised their hand.
I think justice anyway.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Sorry for the back if there's any background noise. Somewhere, but I needed to attend this meeting. So good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
So one of the things that always bothered me from applying for international um, scholarships was that the requirements. Do you need to be an exceptional student, all these first class kind of people to apply? Because if you go through LinkedIn now and you look at some people's certifications, you just feel discouraged. I don't know. I'm just talking from my own point of view. I would just feel discouraged that, okay, look at my own result. It's a 2-1. And you have first class people that even some might not get. So, are there any specialized requirements for people seeking that, or it's something that anyone can get as far as your result is fairly good?
Okay, I think I did not say anything about the scholarship because I was just trying to focus on like the theme of the webinar. So for my scholarship, it's actually I got Total Energies, that's the NNPC Total Energy Scholarship, and it's a Nigerian scholarship anyways. So for me, I just let you know I did not graduate with the first class. I graduated with a 2-1 as well, but of course a good 2-1. I got a CGPA of like 4.42. That was my CGPA. And like I said, I did not do engineering. And when I saw Total Energies, I felt as well that it's for engineering students. I used to feel like when they say scholarship, they used to, when they see my name, they just remove it. Because like when I wanted to study outside, I really applied to a lot of scholarships and I was just getting a lot of rejections. And for Total Energies, like the requirements wasn't so about the requirement stuff you're talking about. I'm trying to say that it's not all scholarships that are so rigid, it's not all scholarships that are so rigid. Of course, scholarships they want to take like the best of the best, I mean they're going to invest a lot of money at least for the ones that are fully funded. So yeah, I mean you won't blame them and see a lot of competition. So just using my own as a reference point to talk about. So for total energy scholarship that I got, normally they take like 10 persons in Nigeria. So of course it's really competitive. And I wasn't thinking that going to take me because I did not study engineering and I did not graduate first class. But I just applied because I was looking for scholarship. So and what was their requirement? They only wanted to know if I did my NYSC and also my background that I studied. And then we had a test. We had like this psychometric assessment test, and then I got invited for an interview. And then the interview, I think we're just like 30 persons, over 30 persons that went for the interview, and just like a panel of 8 persons. And I think that was where I felt like they really give you the opportunity to present who you are and what really helps in this kind of scholarships. I mean, in any scholarship, I think it's really good that when you're applying for a scholarship, you should have like a theme that you're trying to present, like why you think you should be invested in. I mean, for example, Commonwealth Scholarship Tribune, you write like all these letters, leadership, and so on, different letters. And also for this one, we actually wrote like a personal statement. And for me, what I was focusing on when I was writing mine was like, I'm going to focus on like waste to energy. So that's what I was focusing on. So in everything I was trying to present, I was trying to like put present how what I want to do is going to help me in waste management. Like I research about like what they're doing at UNN. I research about what is happening in Paris because I knew the scholarship was going to be in France as well. So I think it's really good that you have like a theme. Okay, why should they invest in you? So I don't think it's just only first class students that they take. So of course, academic excellence is important for them, but I don't think you should limit yourself with that. It also it depends on how you package your storytelling, how you package your value that you have, that why they should invest in you. I don't know if that answers the question, and I don't know which country you're referring to, but in France, for example, they don't have as many scholarships, of course, as they'll have like in the US and other places. And in France, most times what they do with their in terms of scholarships, sometimes the campus France they take like very few persons, like 2 or 3, very very few. Or like you have like the Total Energies that sponsor people to France. That's because Total they have it's a French company, so. And then you have like PTDF as well, the sponsor persons to come to France to study in UK. And then they have like some schools when you're applying as well. They could always ask you, will you be considered do you want to be considered for scholarship? And that could be another avenue, but they don't have as much scholarships as that, of course, as compared to other this thing. So, but in terms of requirements, honestly, I just think it's better you, like just have a theme and why you think they should invest in you, and really try to center your storytelling around that and make sure it's value adding to whatever their proposal is, because they always say, okay, this is why we are doing this scholarship, this is the kind of things that we want to see, so you tailor it towards around that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Willie and Justice. We have 2 questions in chat. The first one is asking, when is the resumption date for the schools in France?
All
when
right,
does it
so
resume?
normally, most schools they resume in September. Most schools, like maybe ending August, September for most of the schools. Although there's some few, very, very few schools, and they're mostly either business schools or some other private schools. They can resume in January. But for what I've observed is that those schools that resume in January, like the business schools, that are on the high side actually. So yeah, but majority of the schools is in September. And I see another question about if you need IELTS. No, honestly, most schools in France you don't need IELTS. In fact, if you are applying to this school in France and they ask you to do IELTS, just leave them. They're not serious. They speak English more than you. Anyways, I'm not for any IELTS, and I don't like anybody to stress me. So any school that asks me for that, I don't even bother applying. But majority of the schools they don't need IELTS. They don't need IELTS.
Okay, before we move on, I have one more question, and this is particular to you because you know you're in a country where the first language is not English. So, did you have to learn French? Was it a requirement at all? Did you find it challenging integrating
Okay.
without knowing the language?
Honestly, no, when most persons ask me, why did you come to France? I used to say because that's where the money was. I mean, that's where I got funding. So it's not because I love France, I wanted to learn French. That's why I came. But in terms of studies, you can actually do like, do your studies and you don't need to bother but that about the language because they have like English taught courses and you see like other international students like you. So it's going to be chill. But in terms of integrating and for the long term run, I mean, it's very important. So for me, yeah, I had to learn French. I had to learn French when I came the first year. Of course, I wasn't serious. Like I wasn't taking it serious because I mean, you're just coming to a new environment. You have like a lot of challenges. It's a different system. Everything is so different. So I think for me, when I came the first year, I wasn't serious about learning the language. But when I did an internship, like a summer internship. By God's grace, I got something. So I think that was where I was really motivated to learn the language. And I mean, it's what one thing someone advised me that I think that really helped me with the language thing was try to develop interest. And I think with that I developed interest with it, and little by little I was able to learn. And I started with Duolingo, of course, but then Duolingo doesn't just do it for you. But I consume like a lot of YouTube content in French. That's what helped me. And as well, being around French persons, when I was in like my internship, I was around a lot of French people. So even if I didn't want to learn it, I had like I'm literally hearing it every day. So that really helped me. So integrating now for me, honestly, with the language, that's been much more better because yeah, I speak French now. So yeah, so that's it.
Wow, thank you very much. Your journey has been really, really insightful. I think I personally learned a lot from it. Thank you very much for joining us. And in case someone has another question.
Okay. If you email professor for acceptance letter, does it help anyway? I don't get what you mean. I mean, before you email a professor, you should already have some. Maybe you can start with your supervisor, for example. And it could be like a good starting point for you to start. Because I don't think if you just email a professor that doesn't know you, and I'm not sure honestly that professor really take his time to invest. So I think it's good that you reach out to professors or someone that lecturers that at least at least maybe they or try to describe who you are, maybe they remember you. I think you should use people that know you, people that can speak good of you or can attest that that you be a good student when you come for your master's program. So and hopefully the people that know you they should respond to you at least or try to look for a means to get in touch with them because some of them they don't look at their emails. Probably you have their phone numbers or you're around the school area. Maybe take a stroll there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's very right. I think some people might also reach out to where they did their internship things. If they were lucky enough to do their internship attached to a professor or a lecturer, they could also do that as well. But thank you very much, Nsoguro. I really hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
You're doing excellent. It's
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you
And
very much.
something I did not mention, just in case you're looking for more resources, I actually have like a YouTube channel, so you can take a look and it will give you more details into it. So it's actually my name, my channel. So
Just your name.
yeah, just my name.
Okay, so everyone, if you want more resources, you can just follow her on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you sharing your journey with us. So without further ado, we're moving on to the next speaker, who is joining us from the USA. Some of us might have heard of him. His name is Nzube Ohalite, and he's going to be also sharing his journey with us and his experience in navigating the international application process from both a student perspective and a mentor perspective. So I am excited to hear his perspective and welcome. So join me in welcoming Nzube Ohalite. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. First of all, I want to appreciate the organizers of this event, IGN, the whole team. Thank you for putting this together. My whole journey really started when I was in final year. So I'm happy that they are bringing this to a couple of final year students in Nigeria, in different universities. So it's something I'm really excited about. I really wish I had something like this during my own time. Yes. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I really commend you, the leadership of this. First of all, before I get started, I want to know, and thank you, Willie, for your session. I hope I can call you by your last name. Thank you, Willie, for your session. I would even be echoing some things that you said, because there are several similarities, although they are different countries. So there are still similarities in the whole process. Before I get started, I want to see by the virtual hand raise. You can raise your hand this way beside your virtual hand raise. How many people are looking? You are considering the US as a destination for you. You are considering the US as a destination for you. Let me just see how many people. Okay, I have several hand raises actually. Okay, 7, 8, 9. Nice. All right, 10, 11. Okay, several people. All right, that's nice. My goal by the end of the session is that everyone will have their hand raised, because the US has several opportunities. Thank you for raising the hand. Let me share my screen, and then we can get on the way. I have 25 minutes, and I have a lot of work to do in 25 minutes, so we'll run through them. So today I just want to share 3 steps that I used to get over $439,000 in USA scholarships across different programs. So this is for my master's and for my PhD as well. So first of all, who am I? My name is Nzube Ohalite. I am a Nigerian, just like we all are. I studied in University of Nigeria, although I grew up in Lagos. I know a couple of us might be watching from Unilag. I grew up in Lagos, but went to the East UNN to get my bachelor's in mathematics. Graduated with the first class, 4.65 over 5.0. Then did NYSC, started my applications. It was in final year. The interest really came out that, wow, the kind of opportunities that I want are not available here in the country, and they don't really reward labor in Nigeria. So I wasn't really happy about that, and I started looking towards studying abroad. So I got my first 2 admissions for masters in 2018. It was as I was ending my NYSC, I already had the admission letter for these 2 schools. One had scholarship, the other did not. I went ahead with the one that had scholarship to now go for my visa interviews. Then I had some series of visa denial. So I had the first denial December 2018. I was going to start classes January 2019, but was denied in December 2018. Put myself together, had to start looking for a job in Nigeria, deferred the admission to fall semester. So fall starts in August, spring starts in January. So I deferred to fall of that 2019, went for the second visa interview in June, got denied the second time, and I lost the admission. This was a master's in mathematics, scholarship, lost the admission. Then started afresh, whole new applications against 2020. 2020 was COVID year, and I got 2 admissions. One was master's and one was PhD. The master's was funded, the PhD wasn't. So I went with the master's, and then started master's at BGSU. August 2020, embassies were not opened, so I started in Nigeria. I took the whole 1 year online in Nigeria. I was lecturing in Federal University of Technology at the time, over at the time. So I would have my classes around like 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm awake with mosquitoes and everything, taking classes. It was really an experience, but I thank God. I thank God. So for the whole 1 year, I did a whole first year in Nigeria. It was a physical program, but I said because embassies were closed because of COVID, we started online. Then December 2020, I had visa interview to start in January, the second semester, to resume here physically second semester, so that I don't have to do a full year. And then I got my 3rd visa denial. Yeah, so all these 3 interviews were in Lagos Embassy. But then finished that 1 year, was going to start my second year, went for my 4th interview in July 2021. And this time I went to Abuja to do it. And then I was approved. So I moved over here and did the second year of the master's program. So I completed the master's in April 2022, 3.92 over 4.0. The grading here is on 4.0 scale. Then was applying for PhD. That was before even ending my master's, and got 2 fully funded offers from Kennesaw State University and Clemson. Kennesaw State University was much more, brought much more money, and I also like the environment, Georgia, I like the school, like the program. So I decided to start here, and that's where I've been ever since, in the 3rd year of PhD program. The program itself is 4 years. So I got about 100,000 in master scholarship for the 2 places I applied to. The first one I got that I didn't finally use, and then the second one I finally went for. Then PhD is much more because you're funded for 4 years. So the scholarships are much more, and that's the amount over there. So I just did all of this to give you some context as we now step into the steps. So there are 3 steps that I want to share with each and every one of us today. The first is to research. You're in your final year now, so you're probably final year or you just finished. So you really have time on your hands to get busy. The first is to research. And what are you researching? Number 1, to choose the best course for you. You must not study what you did in your first degree when you're furthering your studies here in the US. You mustn't. The previous speaker, Miss Really, spoke about her switching to a different field and being able to tell that story, because a lot of the things really that sets people apart is your packaging. How well are you able to tell the story? One of the people currently in the PhD program that I'm in data science, his bachelor's and master's was in biology. But then he could tell the story of how that he's making that transition, why he's making it, what makes him a good fit for the program, and he got admitted, fully funded too. So choosing the best course for you. You have to find the best course for you. You could go through, okay, what you did in your previous degrees, what you just studied in your bachelor's. Are you interested in it? Do you still want to continue in that line? Then work experience. A couple of you might not have work experience yet, but the kind of jobs that you now get, can you get something related to what you like to study? Yes, because it's good if that course you're going for, you have something in your past that prepared you for it. Because in your application, you're trying to show that you're a good student, you are the ideal candidate, you are the person that they've been looking for. All right, so for me, I did maths in my bachelor's, then went ahead to do statistics, apply statistics in my master's, and now I'm doing a PhD in data science. So it's not exactly the same course, but it's related. And I was able to tell that story of, okay, maths helped me and that's why I'm doing statistics. And the mathematics and statistics helped me, and that's why I'm doing data science. So something practical you can do is to use ChatGPT. I guess a couple of us should know about AI now. We are final years. Yes, you guys are aware of the recent trend. So you can just type into ChatGPT, give me some possible career options for someone with a bachelor's of mathematics or bachelor's of economics or mass communication, whatever thing you studied, and it will give you some options of some possible courses that you can do. So that's the first. You have to choose a good course for you, the best course for you. The second is now to research schools. Yes, and this is one of the most important parts of the whole application process. Yeah, if you do this part well, if you can find the good schools, because there are like two routes, and I mostly teach one route. There's a second route, which is more competitive and fewer people attain success. So you can either go through the schools route, or you find the schools that have funded programs and you apply to them, or you go through the scholarship route that you apply to scholarships. You can apply to any school, but you now apply to scholarships, and those scholarships is now what will fund your study. Yes, the scholarships are usually very competitive, and that's why I mostly lean towards the school route, and that's what I'm really going to be talking about today. So finding schools that have scholarships. You might even start applying for university, and then you hear of another new university. Maybe online, you just go on Twitter and someone just shares, oh, this school is making application fees, they're giving scholarships, apply. And you look at the program, it's something you like, you now go ahead and apply. This is a step that is still ongoing. So if you're going to follow this route of finding funded schools, what you're looking for is called a graduate assistantship. So as you're going, checking the program website, checking what they are giving, what you're looking for is, do they offer graduate assistantships? Yes, and what are graduate assistantships? You get to work for your department up to 20 hours a week. And in exchange for that, they waive your tuition, so you don't have to pay tuition, or they pay a part of it, 50%, 75%. And then they also give you monthly stipends at the end of the month. So you use that stipends to take care of your rent, your feeding, all the other things that you used to take care of yourself. Yeah, so you want to search for schools that have these graduate assistantships. And the first way is just to do a Google search. This is where I always start from. So master's degree in economics, USA. You just type it in. Master's degree in electrical engineering, USA. You type it in, and then you now see the results. So this is an example. Master's degree in electrical engineering, USA, and you see all these different ones. If this is what I'm interested in, I just click the first link, University of Colorado, and start looking at the program. Or Catholic University of America, or Texas A&M. You see all these different ones. These are options already of schools that you can apply to. So you just do a simple Google search at first. Another way is university compilation databases. This is really what I call them. I don't heard this name elsewhere. So these are like platforms that they have several universities there, and you can filter based on the program, based on location, based on tuition fee. So this could save you time. An example is mastersportal.com for master's programs, phdportal.com for PhD programs, and then petersons.com as well. So we can just filter, for example, masters in geography that's in the USA, that's full-time and on campus, because we're not looking for online degrees. We want to come over, we want to leave Nigeria and come over to the US, yes. So an example of this is here. So this is mastersportal.com. So you can see the filtering that I did on the left. Full-time, on campus, geography, United States, and then it just gives me 182 different master's degrees. Different options to pick from. This is number 2. And then number 3, other people. The other people, the last speaker said she has a YouTube channel where she shares things about coming to the US, coming to France, sorry. And so you can find people on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, on YouTube. There are people that are always sharing. I also have a YouTube channel as well. And for example, these are like 4 videos that you would see on my channel that share schools. So the one on the top left has like 10 11 schools actually that have scholarships in the US. The one on the top right is, I just spoke about one school, how to waive the application fee and how to get scholarships there. The one on the bottom left, no application fee, 10 universities with no application fees. And on the bottom right as well, universities accept low CGPA. Now, speaking about CGPA, there was a question that was asked in the last session that, do you need to graduate with the first class to get a couple of these scholarships? And the answer is no. The answer is no, because even people with the first class, they get bounced if you don't know how to package. Like she answered it very well. Miss really answered it very well. Like, you need to know how to package yourself. You need to know how to package your story. I just before this session, I was recording a podcast with a Ghanaian who got a Fulbright scholarship and 3 other scholarships. And she just finished, and she finished with a low 2-1. She finished with a low 2-1. So it's not even in first class. So the GPA has its own part in the application. With the first class I've gotten, there are still applications I've done that was bounced. But yeah, so the GPA plays its own part, but you need to be able to package yourself. You need to be able to sell yourself as the strong candidate using other areas. Because it's more than one thing that makes up the application packet. All right, so as you're doing the school search, there are information that you need to capture. We need to have like the website, and an Excel sheet can help you with this. Capture the website of the school, the acceptance rate. There are things called acceptance rate in US universities. The name of the course, the deadline, the application fee, required documents, type of funding available. You need to have a place where you keep track of all of this. So this is the Excel sheet that I use. This is what I filled in when I was applying for my PhD, doing the search for schools. Yeah, so there's research, there's work required. That's why it's its own step of researching. You have time on your hands now. So you can use this to build your own Excel, start doing your research, so you can see the name, location, acceptance rate, the course with the links. So I just have to come to the sheet, click the link, and then it takes me to the page directly. The deadline, application fee, documents required, and other information picked about the school while researching. All right, so that was step 1. You have to research. Step 2 is application documents. Application documents. You have to gather the application documents. So the common application documents that are required is your transcript or your transcript and your certificate, your academic CV. The previous speaker mentioned this academic CV. Yes, you have to highlight your academic achievements that you've done. So it's a CV, but it's still modified to amplify what you've done in your undergrad. Then your SOP, which is also called goal statement, personal statement, or motivational letter. Then recommendation letters as well, which could be from your professors. Then some tests like the GRE and GMAT. This is to test your IQ really and your ability to cope in the program. Then proof of English proficiency, TOEFL, IELTS, and the likes. Then writing sample, research proposal. These ones are optional in some programs, depending on the program that you're going for. So I'm just going to talk about one of them. Me personally, I had to write the GRE when let me just go back to that list. So when I was preparing, because my mind was made up that I had to leave Nigeria. Like, I finished in 2016. My mind was made up that I had to leave Nigeria. So in 2017, I wrote the TOEFL, I wrote the GRE. I even wrote the GRE mathematics. So I wrote the TOEFL in March. I wrote the TOEFL in March in Enugu. Then I wrote the GRE in May. I wrote it in Port Harcourt. And then I wrote the GRE mathematics in October. I wrote it in Benin. That's because at that time I wanted to do a mathematics master's or PhD in one of the Ivy League universities, and that was the requirement. Yeah, so I wrote a couple of these exams because my mind was made up that I had to leave. I had to leave Nigeria. I couldn't continue there. Yeah. So now let me just talk about one of the application documents, which is the statement of purpose. Statement of purpose is a personal essay that shows your academic and professional goals. It also shows your reason for choosing the program and the university and how the program aligns with your career aspirations. So this is where you tell your story. The statement of purpose is a very important part of your application. Is all the documents that you're submitting is your statement of purpose that will help them to understand it, that will help them to interpret it. So you need to tell a very strong story in this statement of purpose, and make sure you get at least 3 people to review it for you. You can reach out to some current students here on LinkedIn. You can reach out to people and then help them, get them to help you review your own statement of purpose. A good statement of purpose has about 7 things. Number 1, personal background. It's your story. So we have to have, okay, where are you coming from? Academic background as well, what you've done, research experience, professional experience, whether it's full-time, part-time, voluntary, your immediate and long-term goals, your reason for being interested in that field. So for example, mine is data science, yours could be economics, yours could be history, international relations, whatever field. And finally, your reason for being interested in that particular institution. A good statement of purpose is between 500 to 1,000 words. So you're not writing a documentary. Don't give us the whole story of your life. Yes, it has to be concise because these are professors that don't really have time that are going to be reading this statement of purpose. So I have done a video on writing a good SOP. I broke down the exact statement of purpose that I wrote and submitted to get the fully funded PhD scholarships. So you see those 7 things, you can even see it color-coded. I explained this because of time that I won't get into the detail of that here now. So you can check that out later. I explained these 7 things and I show you these 7 things in that video. So you can also check it out later. So that's 2. You research, you prepare your documents, then we now reach out. Start reaching out. Who are the people we are reaching out to? 2 major people, the graduate coordinators and also professors that have research labs. Yes, and why are we reaching out to them? First, to build relationship. It's a popular saying that people love to do things for their friends. Yes, so you are not sending the program coordinator an email that you want to be their friend. You did not hear that from me. I did not tell you to do that. But you're reaching out to them is you building that familiarity. And so a friendship kind of begins. Yes. Then another benefit is before you apply for the program, you can communicate with the coordinator on whether you are a good fit, you are the ideal person that they're looking for. And then they tell you, okay, go ahead and apply or don't apply. Because I came out with the first class, I also wanted to try going for a direct PhD without having to do a master's. That's why you saw on the second set of admissions that I got, PhD was one of them. So one of the schools, I reached out to the program coordinator, sending my transcript and my CV, if I'm a good fit for the program. And then she was like, do you have a master's? And I said no. And she said no, that they only admit students with masters. So I could have, I love this program, applied, paid application fee, done all of that to now be denied. Just wasted money because I didn't do this part. And then another thing now is, another benefit is funding opportunities. So there are professors that usually have research labs, they have money in their labs looking for students to bring in. And when you reach out to them, you can be favored and they just tell you, okay, go ahead and apply. I want to bring you to my lab. So who is the graduate coordinator? The graduate coordinator manages the whole admission process. In short, the person is just in charge of the program. Yes, and they are usually open to communicating with new students. And they'll most likely respond to your email when you send to them. Yes, they might not. That's when you now send follow-up emails, but a lot of times they do. So when you reach out to them, you can ask them if you're a good fit for the program. You can ask them the available funding in the department. You can also ask them other questions that you might have about the program. So maybe you've gone through the curriculum. There are some aspects that, okay, you actually would want to learn about, and you're not really seeing it there, so you can ask. For example, this is Bowling Green State University, where I did my master's. This is the mathematics department, and you can see the man in the middle. You can see his position there, assistant professor and graduate coordinator. Assistant professor and graduate coordinator. So a couple of times you'll see it on the faculty page who the graduate coordinator is. And then you can see his email there. So you now get the email address and send them an email. We do a lot of email communication in this side of the world. I know we don't do that a lot in Nigeria. So you have to start getting into that habit if you're planning to move over. Then, apart from program coordinators, you're also going to reach out to professors. So some professors usually have like research labs with funding, and they're looking for students to join their labs. You want to do your homework before reaching out to them. You don't just reach out to them out of the blues. You want to do your homework. And what's your homework? You go to, I showed you the faculty website. You go there and look for their research. What research are they currently doing? Let me just go back and backtrack a little. You can see here, the first man zone is applied mathematics and actuarial science. That's his research area. The graduate coordinator is on his algebra, topology, operands, moduli spaces. Yes, so these are all their research areas. You'll see there. So go there, look for their research areas. The next thing is go to Google Scholar, scholar.google.com. That's the website, scholar.google.com. And you can type in their name. You see their recent publications. Read the abstract. You don't have to read the whole paper. It might be very boring for you to read. But go through the abstract to get a sense of what the paper is about. Then think of how you can improve it. You can even use ChatGPT to help you. Given the abstract below, what potential suggestions of improvement can you give? And you paste the abstract there. ChatGPT will give you some ideas. You package that to send them an email acknowledging their work and suggesting your own improvements. Then you can ask if you can join their labs. So you reach out. All right, so another part of reaching out is now to submit the application. You've gathered all the documents, written tests if you have to. A lot of universities now in the US, they waive English tests, TOEFL and IELTS. I know someone asked about it earlier. They waive English tests for Nigerians. Yes, we're all Nigerians. So they waive English tests for Nigerians. During my time, I told you I wrote it in 2017. That's 7 years ago. It wasn't like that at that time. Yes, but now things have changed. I'm telling you, it's even much more easier to get in now than that time when I got in. So you have all those documents ready. It's time to now get submitted. So it's now time to submit. I'm going to use Bowling Green State University as an example to run through the application form and what it looks like. So first of all, you have like the personal information section where you put in your personal information. This is how it looks. So you have your first name, middle, last name. Just put in contact information. This is just really what it looks like. This is the process of applying. This is what application is. You have to fill this form, and it has like several pages. You can see the left-hand side. Those are all the pages. It's when you've done this and you submitted that you can say, I have applied. So next, academic interest. You indicate the kind of degree you're going for, whether it's a master's or a PhD. You put the name of the program. And then if the program has any specialization, you also put that as well. So this is what it looks like. You can see here, master's, program of study, architecture, full-time. And then on campus, there were 3 campuses there, so I chose the main campus. And the start is fall 2025. So as I said earlier, spring is January, and then fall starts in August. The application window, however, for that August 2025, fall 2025, is open now. So it's usually open a year before. So it opens from August to December, some schools January, some February 1st. but that's usually the window is 1 year ahead. And then in March, April, you'll now get feedback on admissions. Yeah, hopefully we are anticipating good news. So let me not say denials. So you just get feedback on admissions. Yes. Then this is also part of the academic interest part, admission requirement. I just wanted to also show this. You can see down there, if available for your program, do you wish to be considered for a graduate assistantship? So the application for scholarship is as easy as just ticking yes and no. Why? Because we have done the hard part of submitting a strong application. Your application profile, every other thing, all those things I listed, CV, SOP, whether you wrote GRE or not, work experience, all those things, you are the strong candidate there. So if they're admitting you based on that, your profile, should they also fund you? Are you interested in that? You tick yes or no. Then we move on to the test scores path. Yeah, where you would just upload the test scores if you wrote any, whether you wrote the GRE or the IELTS, TOEFL, whichever one of them, you put it. So you click the choose file button and find it on your system and upload. Straightforward. Then letters of recommendation. This, we don't, because some people might be asking for, okay, do I write a draft and send it to the professor so that the professor will use that to apply? The process is quite different. So this is how it looks. This is the recommendation section. So if you want to add a recommender, you click on the add recommender button. And when you click on that button, you'll be given this, where you put in the person's name, first name, last name, organization, position, relationship, phone number, email. So if you want your professor, because this is what I did, I went to meet the professors that wanted to recommend me and told them my intentions. Then when I got their consent, I asked them to give me this information. So I have to get their full names, their position, the title, their email, everything. I have to get this. So this is what I'm collecting from them. And when I'm applying, I'll fill it in here, then click send to recommender. And when I click the send to recommender button, it will send the form. There's a form that is to send to them, which they will now fill in to recommend you. All right. Then the next is statement of purpose, where you upload statement of purpose. Some programs have word limit. So this is what it looks like. You can either upload a Word document or a PDF, or you copy and paste it inside that box there. Please write a document, like have it as a document. Write your SOP, put it in a Word or PDF and upload that. If you copy and paste it there, you don't know the format it will come out as when they are receiving it. You might have moved some paragraphs and some of these things. You might have scattered things, or you might have jam-packed them together. Yeah. So please get it, write it, put it in a document, Word document or PDF preferably, and just upload. Then there's also the academic history part, where you upload your transcript. So you need to have your own official transcript. Now let me talk about this. What's official and what's unofficial transcript? Unofficial transcript is when you are uploading the transcript as you're applying. But official is when the school is sending it straight to the university. When the school is sending it straight to the university, that's official. When you are uploading, it's unofficial. Now, what I advise you to do, they might not send you the transcript. Your school, if you request a transcript now when you're done, when you get to that stage that you are now requesting transcripts, if you put yourself as the receiver, they might not send it to you. So what I did was I got one of my professors, spoke to him, he consented. So they sent the transcript to him, and then he gave it to me. And that was what I used as my unofficial transcript as I was applying to all the schools I was applying to. Yeah. So you can also do that as well. So this is what it looks like. The academic history parts, you now indicate, you can say the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the timing with which I was there from 2012 to 2016. and then Bolingo State University as well. So when you click on that, you can put the details of the school, the time you were there, and then upload your transcript. Then you sign, you review, and you pay the application fee. If you're getting application fee waived, fine and good. If not, then you pay the fee and you hit submit. And with that, you've applied. This is what it looks like. Put in your signature here. Your signature is going to be your name. So you just type your full legal name, and that's your listing. So when you've done this, you have now applied. So apply to multiple schools. I just showed you for one school. Once that your profile is set up, you have one program you're applying to. You're not applying to civil engineering and electrical engineering. You're just applying to one program. You have an application packet for that program. You have an SOP you've written, you have your CV and everything. Then you can now apply to multiple schools, that same program in multiple schools. Then be patient and have faith. Yeah, if you want to go deeper, 1 hour, 2 hours is not enough to talk about everything about US scholarships. Honestly, I will tell you the truth. I've been on this journey for the past 7 years. 1 hour is not enough to speak about it. There are so many components, there are so many parts of it. I have a course that is 6 hours long. It has 58 lessons. It has 14 steps that you need to take from, okay, I want to study in the US, what do I do first? It has all those steps until the final step, which is, I've gotten all these scholarships, how do I choose the one? Which is the kind of problem that we are praying for. Yeah, and I also hold monthly Q&A sessions for all the students in the course where you can, in your application process, you can ask me direct questions and walk you through it. Then there's also a bonus part of the course that is getting your visa approved. Yeah, staying in that course. And all right, so I have two gifts for you, for everyone that joined today. The first, if you scan the QR code by the left, you would have a list of 122 fully funded USA programs. If you scan the link by the left, 122 fully funded USA programs. So a couple of international students just came together, started a thread. You're fully funded, put your program here, put in the requirements. And then we have that whole list, 122 so far, and still adding. So you can scan that, the one by the left, to get access to that. Just download it and go through, check your program that you want to go for, and hopefully you'll be fully funded too. Then secondly, if you scan the link by the right, that's my course. That's the link to my course. I'm giving a 20% off for everyone in this webinar. If you take action, I want to reward people that take action. So if you take action within the next 1 week, that's till October 19th, we can use the coupon code webinar, WEBINAR, to get 20% off. For the next 1 week, after that, it goes back to the normal price. I'm sure the coupon code is invalid after that, not even normal price. So how can you find me? YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm posting every day on YouTube. I post every day on YouTube. I post videos. I have a podcast every weekend, and I post every day. Still helping people to make this transition over to the US. Coming over to the US changed my life completely. It's a whole different world over here, honestly, and I want to help as many people as I can as well. And that's my email address there, info@unsbeohid.com. All right, so I think at this point I will just open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you very so much for this exciting session. I hope everybody has taken the opportunity to scan the two QR codes, which I think are still up. Yeah. So we're going to, I know a lot of people have questions, and if you have a question, you can just raise your hand and we'll be answering those questions very shortly. I also have a list of questions I want to ask, but let's take the first question from the first person. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Joan Adigite, you can ask a question.
Okay, good day. Thanks for this section. It was really insightful. I do have, I think about sort of three questions though. So
Okay.
for the first question, it's more of, I won't say it's a question actually. I was just a bit curious. So when you started, you said that you got denied a visa 3 times. So I kind of got curious because normally I have always thought that the moment you have a fully funded offer, it kind of makes the whole visa process very easy, and most people that I know don't actually stress about that. So I just wanted to ask, like, do you have an idea what could have gone wrong during that period? So I'm going to wait for you to answer this, then I would ask my remaining 2 or 3 questions.
2 questions, all right. First of all, the time I was going for the visa, I was not fully funded. So I had the whole tuition covered, yes, but when you're going for your interview, you have to show that you can also take care of your living expenses. So your feeding, accommodation and all of that. And the estimates for that was like the assistantship that I got did not cover it completely. So I wasn't really fully funded. I had the full tuition coverage with extra money, but it didn't cover all the living expenses. So I wasn't really fully funded. Do I have an idea of why I was denied those times? Honestly, not. To give you the truth, what I would say is because the visa officers will want to connect with you to see that you are genuine. That, okay, you're actually going for what you say you're going for. You have strong home ties. You can afford the finances and you come back. I was desperate. I just wanted to leave. And so I had crammed all the answers I was going to give. And it was as if, as you're talking to this guy, he's reading from a mental script. Yes, and so that connection did not happen. This is my perspective because they don't tell you why. That connection did not happen because I made that mental switch the last time I was going. The last time I was going, I already had the backup plan of things I was going to do in case I don't get the interview, and then I now got it. So I was like, oh, okay. Thank God. And I went. So that's what I would say was like a mindset that affected my actions.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So my second question, I don't know if I heard you clearly. I had a bit of network issues when you were speaking at that moment, but I think I heard you saying something about not trying to repeat a degree you studied as an undergraduate. I don't know if I had that correctly. If I did, I'm kind of curious to why.
That's not what I said. It's
okay,
best
so
for you to study the same thing that you studied in your undergrad, but it's not a necessity. Like
okay.
you must not. If it's not, because like the way we get admission in Nigeria, a couple of us are not really studying what we want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a couple of us are not really studying what we want. So it's not a must that you must continue in that line. It's not a must. Yes, that's my point. But you have to select a course where you have a very good chance.
Okay, yeah. So my third question. Okay, so you said something about researching, checking schools that are into what you're doing. So for me, I already have an idea of what I want to do. I know what I want to do already. And what I want to do is, so one of the things I've come to realize is that one of the things I want to do is not, there's no particular term to what I want to do. So like, you have a master's in maybe molecular biology or a master's in maybe metagenomics or something. So my interest lies in is mostly multidisciplinary and translational. So I'm trying to put together let's say three different tools or 2 different fields together to maybe solve a particular problem. And one of the things I've come to realize searching for schools that do something similar or something quite close to that is I really do not. Maybe it's the way I'm searching, but I really do not get schools that do something along that line. Or most of the schools I get, they don't offer full funding.
If we can
And
get to
maybe
the question.
I didn't hear you.
I'm so sorry. Could we get to the question as fast as possible? There, we have
Okay,
quite a
so
few questions. So,
yeah, I'm getting there. Getting there. So in such case, what do you suggest? So is either you just can't find a program that is a fit for you, or
Mm.
the few ones you find are either too competitive, or the ones you find they are not fully funded. So in such case, what do you suggest?
You first of all said that you were not seeing the one that was a perfect fit. I would suggest that you find the closest that you have the highest chance in. So based on your previous degrees and maybe your work experience, or volunteer experience, the part it says multidisciplinary. You find the discipline out of those multi that you have the strongest chance in, and you go for it. While you are there, your thesis, you can do these things, or you can even take courses in all these other areas and build that curriculum for yourself, if you understand. So you just have to find one of them where you have the strongest chance and make your transition through there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and sorry, one last question. One last question. Okay, so this is regarding standardized tests, GRE. So I'm considering writing the exams. I would like to know, what do you think is an average prep time if I'm to take GRE? Do you think 6 weeks is enough? Do you think 2 months is enough?
Okay.
Like
Okay. It
it's constant
depends.
prep and then like.
Okay. The industry recommended is 3 months. Yeah, if you are self-preparing. 3 months. I used 1 month. And I got 308. So it will depend on, I think it will depend on, you can use 6 weeks. I won't really advise people to use 1 month, except you want to be aggressive. But yeah, 6 weeks is good. 2 months is good as well, because it's an expensive exam and you don't want to not do well.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you very much for your answers. We have some people who still are on the queue, and we also have some questions on the chat. But we have one more speaker, so I think we'll just take one question from the chat, and then come back to circle back, so everyone can take note of your questions. We're going to have a general question and answer session at the end. So at that time, we can all ask the questions all together. But let's take the question from the chat that says, if we don't have an English test score, what do we put into the application page if it requires to upload a document?
If you are from Nigeria and they are waiving it for Nigerians, when you get there, it won't be required. You won't be required to upload a document. But if you are, you can email the graduate admissions. They have an email address which you can see on graduate admissions website of that school. You can email them telling them that you are from this country, you fill the requirements, you put the link there where they listed out Nigeria as one of the countries that are waiving it for, write it there. And then you can also have a screenshot of, is requiring me to upload my English test score. Yes, so you can have that there and send it to them in an email. They would get back to you that, okay, they've removed that requirement on your account, that you can continue with your application. So you just communicate.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ohalete, for that session. It's very, very insightful. And we'll be coming back to all these questions in a few minutes, but I feel like we should go ahead to the next speaker. Our next speaker is going to be joining us from Canada, and I'm also really excited to see what he has to hear what he has for us. His name is Dr. Peter Isheshele. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But yeah, everyone, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Peter Isheshele. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for such yeah, appreciate. I almost lost the opportunity to present here because I got so busy with my final defense and I was just very slow, in responding to my email. So I was still able to get back to my old email and I was able to reach back to the organizer. So thank you for, such a short time for squeezing me in to do a presentation today. So I do really appreciate that. And thank you to all of the presenters that presented. I feel like you've really made my work easy. So there are some slides. I do have some slides that I'm going to skip because you've really talked about those already. So I'm going to share my screen and then we can pick up from there. Just a minute. Let me get my slide and then we can pick up from there. Okay. Just a minute. Let me pull this up. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Can you see my slides now? Okay. If you can see the slide, can you just let me know? Okay. I was trying to do, okay. Trying to do a bit of a screen sharing. So just a minute. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just try to share because of time so we can finish up even before the 20 minutes mark. Just a little bit about myself. So I had my undergrad at Ambrose Valley University and I'm trying to make sure I get everything set up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so can you see my screen now? If you can see my screen, just maybe write something or okay, you can see. All right, perfect. So I had my undergrad at Ambrose Valley University. That was in 2010, 2014. And yeah, I finished and then I had a bit of break for NYSC and then started thinking about, applying abroad. Initially, I wasn't really thinking about Canada per se. Initially, I was thinking about the US. And then later on, I had a friend who introduced me to Canada and mentioned that, yes, it's really possible to, just hang on. Let's make sure I get something clearly here. Just a minute, please. Okay, sorry, this is better. So I wanted to make sure I, have scholarship. And then the way it works in Canada is a little bit different from the US, although there are quite some similarities. But for the most part, there are two ways of getting scholarship in Canada. Number one is that you apply, you reach out to professors and tell them you want to do a master's or a PhD. And then when they accept you, or they say, oh yeah, I'm going to accept you, then you do a couple of interviews. By the virtue of just them accepting you, by the time you apply for admission, you're going to get funding. You don't have to apply for the scholarship separately. The other part, or the other way of applying for scholarship here, is that there are some schools that don't really require you to get a scholarship, to get a supervisor before you apply. I'll talk about all of those later on. So I finished my master's in 2019, and then I got another fully funded scholarship at the University of Alberta for my PhD in nutrition. And I actually just, finished the PhD last month. Yeah, I finished my PhD, defended my PhD, everything last month. That's why, yeah, I thought I had a bit of delay in reaching back to the exam, the organizer, because I was really trying to prepare for my defense. So I'm really excited. It's been a journey of a lifetime, I would say. So I'll talk about scholarship and admission, and then I'll show a few of my YouTube videos, and then we can pick up from there. Now, when you're planning to apply for school in Canada, there are a couple of things that you need to think about. Number one is that I have this educational qualification. I have a bachelor's in botany or biochemistry or engineering or bachelor's of engineering education. What program will I apply for that will match this particular area that I want to apply for? That is the first thing. And then secondly, for work experience, yeah, most of you probably haven't had a lot of work experience. So most of the courses and programs you apply for are those that are related to your, undergraduate. But for those that have had some quite of long, work experience, that's a story for another day. Now, another thing you want to consider is, do I want scholarship or I want to fund myself? The reason why I'm saying is that I try to diversify my content to not only focus on those that are getting scholarship. There are some of you, your siblings or your parents, they have the money to actually pay for your either master's program in Canada. You can do that. So I talk about all of those ones in my YouTube video, though the focus is on scholarship because that is what I used to come. But I started noticing that, yeah, there are a lot of opportunities. Like I have a lot of friends here that have made the sacrifice to come here to study without scholarship. And by the time they graduate, they got a fantastic job and they're doing well. Another thing to consider is your graduating CGPA. When somebody reach out to me and like, oh, Peter, I'm looking for a scholarship. The first thing I ask them is, what was your graduating scholarship? Now, in Canada, the minimum requirement for most of the funding opportunity is you need to have they call it a B average, or 65% or 70, as the case may be. If you convert that to a 5.0 GP, that's around 3.7, 3.8. So if you have that, yeah, there are possibilities for you to get funding opportunities. Unfortunately, if you have low GPA, like second class, lower, and all that, it's really tough. There's really nothing to have. It's tough, although it's possible. I'll talk about what you can do in the future, like in the other slides, if you have low GPA. Another thing is going to be your area of study. Unfortunately, not all the areas are research programs. Okay, for those of you that do, maybe you did business administration in your undergrad and you want to do an MBA, that in Canada, I don't know about the US, but in Canada, there are very, very few schools that sponsor people that are doing management or business administration. Although there are few, but it's very less. Most of the funding opportunities that are those in the science area, technology, IT, computer science, computer engineering, any type of engineering, and then mathematics. One of the speaker from the US alluded to that fact. Then if you are in the health related area, med lab, even physiology, even medicine, right? For those that study medicine and you want to not practice medicine in Nigeria and move, it's up to you. But to me, it's a good choice if you decide to do that. At the end of the day, it's going to benefit you here. Some people end up getting masters and PhD here, and they'll become MD, PhD. These are the people that the industry are really looking for, that have a mix of that medical background and also that research background. Those in the social science area, economics especially, there are lots of funding opportunities for those in the economics, psychology, sociology, tons of funding in that area. Those in the education as well, there are tons of funding in that area as well. Now, I mentioned this before. There are two ways it works in Canada. There are some schools, like in my department, for when I did my master's by chemistry, you must get a supervisor. You don't even need to reach out to the grad coordinator in this case. You just have to keep sending emails to supervisor. So the other speakers have talked about how you can search for schools. So you do all your search, then just type like Masters of Biochemistry in Canada, and you see tons of schools that offer that biochemistry. You go there, when you click on it, you start reading. They will say you must secure a supervisor before you apply. Some other one will tell you don't need to get a supervisor before you apply. So in my own case, I had to reach out to a supervisor. For Canada, 80% of the work for schools that require to get a supervisor, 80% of the work you need to do is just to start emailing supervisors. In my own case, I think I probably emailed close to 80 to 100 supervisors before I finally got a response. So for those of you that might be thinking, oh, I've sent 5 emails and I haven't gotten a response, you have to keep sending. And it's not about getting good grades. It's not about, oh, I had a first class or a high 2-1, I'm going to get it right away. If the supervisor does not have funding, okay, what will happen is that no matter how good your GPA, they're going to tell you, oh, sorry, I'm not accepting students, okay? And then there are some other programs, like in my department now, not my department, in my school, Department of Chemistry. For masters and PhD, you don't need to reach out to supervisors. You just apply directly to the school. Then what they will do, they will ask you to list out 3 to 4 professors you want to work with, right? And then what will happen is that they will send your application to those professors. If any one of them decide to say, yes, I like this student and the research area, they will give you admission plus funding. You don't even have to apply for funding separately. Now, there are some few cases where you can apply for external funding. For example, there is this MasterCard scholarship. There are a few schools that offer that. You apply to the scholarship and then you apply for the admission, and then the external scholarship fund your research. In Canada, most of the scholarship are given by the department and the supervisor. So in my own case, I started reaching out to professors when I was doing my NYSC. I sent tons of emails. In fact, I applied to one school. I didn't even know that they had to get a supervisor. Then I applied to a school and they're like, yeah, your grades are fantastic, but just identify one professor that is willing to supervise you. I emailed tons of them. I didn't get a positive response until I reached out to one professor, and then the professor was like, you know what, I like your profile, let's connect. And then the professor asked me to send my thesis, like my undergrad project. So I sent it to him, and then we're supposed to speak the following week. And then the professor mentioned, you know what, the funding that I was supposed to get had allocated to another professor. But you know what I'm going to do for you? I really love your profile. The professor sent my own application and my transcript and everything, and sent it to another professor in the same department. And then that professor reached out to me, and I was like, she was asking, yeah, I have this really good funding opportunity that covers your scholarship, it covers your tuition, cost of living. Are you interested? I was like, are you asking me if I'm interested? I've been searching for this thing for more than 8 months now, and now it's just coming. So on the platter of gold. And this was in March of 2017. And then, okay, I was like, oh, let me apply for admission for September. The prof said, okay, yeah, apply for September. I applied for September, and then when the admission came out, the professor was like, you know, Peter, I really want us to start this project so soon. The admission came out for May, and the admission came out in April, and the start date was to be May. I was like, there's no way I can get visa. It just like almost like a month to resumption. Then I spoke with a few friends. Luckily for me, there was a Nigerian in the lab, and then that Nigerian was able to talk with the professor. And then the professor wrote another recommendation letter for me and mentioned how desperate she is for me to come and start the research. That even though the school is resuming on the 8th of May, even though I come ending of the month, she's okay with me. She doesn't want me to come. That my lab, everything is already settled in terms of funding, everything is already settled. I got my visa approval in 2 weeks. So this was me, but I always like to say this story for those that have been trying and giving up. I tried this thing for 8 months. I didn't get anything. And in March, I got a supervisor, got admission. I applied for admission in April, ending of March, got the admission in April, applied for visa, got the visa in early May. The moment I went to pick my passport, I stopped in the cage, I booked my flight. The following week, I was in Canada. So you just have to keep pushing. Don't give up no matter the circumstances. Just keep sending those emails. Now, let me tell you the secrets for this number 4 point. For programs that don't require you to get a supervisor, they are more competitive because everybody's applying for that course and they will only pick the best. But if you get a supervisor, you are not competing with anybody. You are competing with yourself. You just have to make sure you meet the minimum requirement. And if you do that, your admission is yours. So for those thinking about Canada, if the program requires you to get a supervisor, 90% of the time is to use that Excel sheet that, you know, the previous speaker mentioned from the US. Track, be sending emails, multiple as much as possible, and then apply for as many schools as possible. Now, I always like to say this: in Canada, you know, you have to think about after graduation if you want to stay and work in Canada. So you have to make sure the program you are applying for is eligible for the work permit, so that when you graduate, you can get a work permit. There's been a lot of changes as far as Canada way is concerned, and any kind of master's or PhD you are apply for is not affected. Now, for those of you that maybe your GPA is not very high, you had like maybe low second class upper, and you still have the dream of coming abroad. Very possible. I've had like tens, you know, hundreds of people with low GPA that have moved to Canada and they are doing very well. So don't let that discourage you. You may just have to find the money. Okay, maybe just speak to your parents, siblings, and all that, but it is still possible. In Canada, there are different start dates. We have January start date, which we call winter. We have spring start date, which is May. Okay, we also call it spring or summer start date. They are the same. And the fall, it starts in September. Now, they've already talked about how to set for school. So thank you for helping me reduce the work. So master's portal, doctoral portal, and then if you want to apply for diploma in a college, okay, I'll talk about difference between college and university. You can do that, or you can just do a Google search, diploma in biotechnology in Canada, and then you get all of the schools. We've already talked about, you know, documents needed is basically the same for everybody, so I don't have to stress about it. This GRE, there are some programs that are compulsory for those that are going for some engineering courses. Some may require to write GRE. And then for those that are going for MBA, so majority of them, they have compulsory GMAT requirement, but there are a few schools that don't require you to get a GMAT, even though you are going for MBA. So you just have to do a bit of search, and like the speaker from France said, if you fit out the ones that require GMAT and GRE and apply for the rest, you will still be fine. Now, in Canada, there are what they call course-based masters and research-based masters. Okay, course-based masters, they don't have scholarship. You don't need a supervisor. It's very competitive to get in. For the most part, a lot of schools will require to have a second-class upper, but there are still a few schools that will admit you if you have a second-class lower for masters. There are very few, but I've talked about them in my videos. You can check them out. There is no lab work. Then you do more courses, right? You do a lot of coursework, exam, and then they, like I mentioned, they require high CGPA. Okay, almost the same for research-based where you get scholarship. Okay, but for these, there are a few select schools that can give you admission with low GPA. You just have to find those ones. Masters is usually 2 years. There are 1 year masters, 16 months, and 2 years. Then you have more time to do a part-time job because you basically only go to school when you have classes. But for research, for someone like me, I was going to the lab every day, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is how most of the research program work here, except you're doing maybe computer-related research that you don't really have to be in the lab, and then you can also do your things on the computer. But there may be a few internal scholarships available for course-based program, okay? Research-based is what they call thesis-based. So when you go to the website, you have to check, is it course-based masters or research or thesis-based? For those that are looking for scholarship, this is the area that you should focus on. If you have low GPA and you really don't want to do research, your family can fund the master's, so you can focus on the course base. There are entrance scholarships. I got like an entrance scholarship of about 20,000 Canadian dollars for just apply for the admission. I got $20,000, and then I got another $24,000 per year for my first year, another 24,000, another. By the time you are in the program, you start getting a lot of internal scholarship. There was another one of 6,000, 10,000, 15,000 all around. Okay, you need a supervisor admission, either yes or no. If you don't, just make sure you check the specification. Don't go and start emailing supervisors when it's not required. Okay. And then it's less competitive when you get a supervisor because you're not competing with anybody. You just want to make sure you meet the admission requirement. Lab work is involved for a lot of research work, but there are some community-based research programs. You don't even stay in the lab. Like one of the ladies doing PhD in my lab, she never held a pipette in the lab. She was basically doing clinical research in the clinic within the hospital. So it depends on the type of research, all right? And then there are less courses. If you come to do research masters, you basically do like maybe 2 courses, and then the rest is going to be doing your research for the most part. It's very competitive because they require to get a high CGPA. To be honest, if you want to really focus, get a research masters, you need to have at least 3 points for 5.0 GPA. I'll say minimum of 3.7. So you don't even have to have first class or high 2-1. One of my clients that I mentored, he had 3.76. He got a full scholarship in Canada. Now he has resumed. He started this September. He's in Canada, so you don't need to have 4 point something to get a scholarship. Usually 2 years, and then you really have less time for part-time jobs because you're mostly in the lab for the most part. Because in Canada, if you're working, if you are in school, you can work 20 hours per week. And then there are a lot of internal scholarships you can apply when you're not in the program. For those that want to think about, college, maybe my grade is not enough for university. You can apply for a graduate certificate program, is 1 year. If you can apply for a diploma, you can apply for advanced diploma. See, even though you already have a bachelor's, you can still apply for a diploma in Canada. I have tons and hundreds of clients that, they had, let's say, biochemistry, and then they started doing business for a while, and then they apply for a global business management diploma, and they're in Canada now. But these days, because of the recent changes, if you want to do a diploma, you have to, there are lists of certain programs that are eligible for work permit when you graduate, so you have to think about that. So don't say, oh, I already have a BSc, I can't apply for a diploma. If your aim is to leave, you do whatever it takes for you to leave, whether it's diploma or master's or PhD, it doesn't really matter. Okay. And then, yeah, these schools, whether you have 2.5 out of 5.0, you can get admission, but there are no funding opportunities. Partial funding is very rare. Admission, not competitive, 2 to 4 weeks, you can get admission. Some are required to pay a certain amount of money for tuition deposits. Then there are some that are a big sheet, between, let's say, $9,000 to $13,000 per year. Regular ones, 16 to 18,000 Canadian dollars per year. And then they offer work permit for the most part, which is really, we have to think about long-term goals, not just to get you to Canada. Get you to Canada and stay and work and make your money, okay? Very important. You don't need a supervisor. They don't even need recommendation letter to apply for colleges. And then you pay application fee. University, they also offer graduate certificate. They also have what's called postgraduate diploma, master's and PhD, okay? It's only master's and PhD you get scholarship, okay? And then it's very rare to have to get admission with low GPA, okay, except for a few schools, but there won't be funding. Then you can get full funding available depending on your situation. Admission for masters is a little competitive. It can take 1 to 3 months to get admission. And then mostly when you get admission, maybe they can ask you to pay $500 for tuition deposit, unlike college that can ask you to pay like $7,000 for tuition deposit. There are some cheap masters and also some expensive ones. I've talked about a lot of them in my videos. And then they offer work permit, and then you need a supervisor for research and not for thesis based, so not for course based. And then you need letters of recommendation that other speakers have also talked about. You pay application fee. Now, you have to note the application deadline. If you want to, yeah, this is a bit of an old slide for this particular one. Let's say if you want to go for May start date, which is started September, deadline is usually October of the previous year and November. So which means if you want to apply for September, May next year, you should be applying for your program now. Then if you want to start in September, let's say September 2025, most of the deadline are going to be in January of this year, December of this year, I mean, January of 2025 and February. So you have to think ahead. If you want to start in January, January 25 is long close. So more, maybe if you are thinking about 2026, then June, July, August of next year is what you should be thinking about. Sending emails to professors. This is a big one, okay? And I'm really glad the speaker from the US really spoke about this. You have to check about the faculty section to look at professors. What you do, if you want to do, let's say, Masters in Biochemistry, and you search Masters in Biochemistry Canada, and you see a school, you click on it, you go to, there's a place that will say faculty or our people, whatever, our staff and all that. Faculty, for the most part, you see a list of professors. It's your responsibility to say, oh, I'm going for biochemistry, I'm interested in nutrition and obesity, right? Then you have to look for professors that are in that area. See, let me give you something. When I'm thinking about masters, don't overthink the research area. Like, you know, somebody was asking a question. This is not the time to be over ambitious. Oh, there is this one, I want to research why is it that, you know, elections in Nigeria are rigged by that's when you're, I'm just using that as a joke and as an example. Be wide open. See, the research that I did for a master's, I had no idea. So the professor just said, this is the research title. I don't even understand the topic. The professor said, don't worry, you have the background, you have biochemistry area, you did some courses in your final year, that is enough. When you come in your first 1, 2, 3, 4 months, you are going to be reading, and then you learn your research area. There are some persons that are fortunate that you already know a bit of what the area you want to come into, then you can get something. So don't overstress it, okay? Just find something in your final year. So during my final year, I did some courses in food biochemistry. That is what motivated me into this food area. Is enough at the master's level specifically. If you're an engineer, you did some courses in final year, or conductors and other things. That is enough motivation. If you have publications, good. I personally, I never had any publication during my undergrad, so it's not a factor. If you have it, it's good for you. And then, yeah, Google Scholar, the speaker from US talked about that, and you can also use PubMed. If you just type www.pubmed.com, type the name of the professors, and then you can search their research area. So when you want to email them, you can mention that, you know what, I read one of your research paper published last year on this title, and this is what I learned, and it will be interesting to explore this further. These are some of the things you talk about in your letter. There will not be time to talk about all of this, but I have a lot of videos you can learn about that. Then include only your transcript and your CV when you are, reviewing, when you're sending emails to professors, and then don't send generic emails, okay? And then I would say, if you know the deadline, start sending tons of email 2 to 3 months before the deadline, so that by the time you have the deadline, you've already secured supervisors, and then you just apply. And then in Canada, you have to do interviews with the professors, right? So when the professor says, I want to supervise you, they will meet with you maybe on Zoom. So you prepare for that, and then prepare all of the documents you need for admission, and then you apply for the admission. And then for the reference, most of the schools these days will ask you to send the reference to put the name of the email address of the professors or whoever you're using as reference. Then they will send the link to those professors. Make sure you follow up with them. Don't use anybody you know they hardly check their email. It will delay your admission. And then ask your professor what scholarship opportunities are available. And then by the time you get your admission, you can start talking about your visa application. That is another nightmare. There are people that get fully funded scholarship and still get visa rejection. So there won't be time to talk about all of those. But if you come to my channel, just type Peter Isesele on Google. I have tons of email that is like 4 years ago. I've been doing this for a long time. How I got my supervisor for masters, how I got my scholarship for my PhD. I've interviewed a few persons that got scholarship. Actually, this was we finished together in Brosali, same year, 2014. That he just finished his PhD last year at the University of Saskatchewan, and he's doing very well. This my friend also doing PhD, McGill University. This Dr. Anthony, he just finished his PhD. He was in my lab. This was a Nigerian guy in my lab, and I also interviewed him. So you can see a lot of these on my channel as well. 1 more minute. I know I'm over time, but 1 more minute. If you have low GPA, you can do what is called West evaluation. It may boost your CGPA a little bit. Get some work experience. Work in some research lab, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and then you can apply and see. If you have papers with undergrad thesis, you can publish that. Have very strong SOP. You know, the previous speaker talked about that. You can explain maybe why you got low CGPA and what you have done after you got low CGPA to enhance your profile, and your letter of recommendation. You can really make it super smart, like really good when you speak with your professor that will do your stuff. Apply to less competitive schools if you have low GPA. Okay, don't look at University of Toronto, University of Alberta. They are too competitive. Look at the other schools that are not within that top 10. And then if you have the money, apply for diplomas and also postgraduate diploma in university. And then another thing you can do masters in your country first. Get the highest grade possible, and then apply for scholarship in Canada, US, and Canada. You would just be fine. I've talked about a lot of other videos on how to cheap colleges. You can see how to arrange your visa application and such stuff like that. Do a lot of research, and then you should be fine. Lastly, last slide. I know there's not really a lot of time to cover this, but I do have a one-on-one mentorship program. You know, you have opportunity to talk to me one-on-one. We have a call, and then I look at your profile, so that's the best session for you. You know, we can chat on WhatsApp, and I respond to any questions you have. I look at your SOP and suggest, you know, how to get a scholarship, your CV, visa application guide. I will basically hold your hand till you submitted your application. And then, you know, if you apply with family and other, for those that are married, you know, I guide you through this from holding your hand all the way from Nigeria to you finally land in Canada. Okay, so you can talk to me one-on-one. Just check out my website, and then you can also send me an email. And then, yeah, comment on my YouTube. I may not see it early, but yeah, my email and website is the best way to contact me, and I'll be glad to respond to any question that you have. Sorry for going over time, but I'll take your questions now.
No, it's no problem at all. Thank you very, very much. I was just thinking that this information is very, very rich, very, very explanatory. And I think that we're going to have to go overboard from our time, because the sheer amount of questions to answer is a lot. I think you're our last speaker for today. So we're going to transition into the question and answer session, which means not only to you, but to our other speakers, all questions can be answered by, you know, any of our speakers. So thank you very, very much for your time so far. And I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to keep you for a little bit longer while we ask questions. Yeah, so some people already have some questions in chat that we've not been able to answer. So I think we'll be starting from there. And then anyone that has another other questions can put a hand up or send messages via the chat, and we'll be answering as many as possible during the registration process, we also put space for questions in case people had questions coming into this webinar. So I have compiled those questions. I will be answering some of those questions from there as well. But let's start with the questions we have in chat. You mentioned the masters by coursework and the masters by research. Someone already asked a question about that earlier, talking about if the person wants to pursue a career path focused on research, do you advise a master with coursework or a master by research? Again, this question is open to all our speakers. Thank you very much for answering. Thank you very much in advance.
I just touch a bit on that. So whether coursework, so the only difference is that course-based there are no scholarship, and research-based there is scholarship. Okay, so if you are looking for scholarship, anything about course-based, just put that on site on the site, and then focus on research or thesis-based master. That is where you get the scholarship. But if you have the funds to pay, for the masters, you can apply directly for course-based master. It's a little bit easier to get admission than thesis-based, and it's just a little bit competitive. So it depends on your goal, and whether scholarship or not scholarship, that determine whether you go for course-based or thesis-based. And the other thing is that there are some persons that have reached out to me and they're like, Peter, I don't think I can look for supervisors. For a course like biochemistry, there are no course-based biochemistry. There are no course-based chemistry in Canada. Every of the chemistry, biochemistry, they are all research-based. So which means you either get a supervisor or you have a competitive CGPA to apply for admission and see if you can get a scholarship. And the thing is that even though you have your money to pay for your tuition, nobody care about that. They don't say, oh, you can't you can't fund your research here, even though you have the money to pay tuition, okay? So people have said, well, I cannot get a supervisor and I'm not really in for this competitive admission for scholarship. Let me go for course-based and pay myself. So that is how you decide on what you are going to pursue.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that. I hope people are, if you have a question, you can raise a hand so we can take as many questions as possible in the time that we have. In the chat, we also have another question. This one I'm going to direct at both, Dr. Peter and Nzube, Mr. Ohalite. I learned that once one is done schooling, you might be told to return to Nigeria. My question is, can someone get a work permit rather than returning to Nigeria after schooling? That question was sent in by Chioma Annabelle. I think Dr. Peter already touched on it, but I was wondering if it's the same in the US, and also for Canada, what are the requirements for getting that work permit? Thank you.
Maybe the US. I would really love to hear for the US, what options are available to stay first, and then I think I will come in later on.
Okay, in the US, we have what we call optional practical training, which is called OPT. It's quite different from Canada, and thank you for your session, actually. I saw a lot of similarity in the whole process between both countries. Now, in the OPT, all programs can apply. All programs can work after studying. So it's not like some few programs can get OPT while some can't. No, every program can get that 1 year OPT after studying. Now, STEM programs get 2 extra years. So every other program gets 1 year, and then STEM can now get 3 years of work. You can work in your field for 3 years after studying. So from this OPT, people now transition to the work visa, which we call H-1B, and then to green card, hopefully, as well. Now, the question mentioned, you'll be required to return back to your home country. It's only if you get a scholarship that has that clause where like an external scholarship that has the clause of after we fund you, you have to come back. But graduate assistantships don't have anything like that. Yes, so with graduate assistantship, you are not required to go back to your home country. But for the OPT, it needs to be in a field. You have to get a job between 90 days of finishing your study, and it has to be in a field, in the same field where you got the degree. Yeah.
So for Canada, they really have a very unique pathway. I would say it's a bit easier compared to the US, you know. So in Canada, when you graduate from your master's or diploma, you get a work permit. And if you do a 1-year course, you will get a 1-year work permit. If you do a 2-year course, you get a 3 years work permit. You can work for any employer during that time. There are people that have graduated, work 1 year, and they get their permanent residency, which is equivalent to the green card in the US. Okay, so the immigration pathway is a little bit less, although it's pretty tough, but there are, in fact, you can even get your permanent residency before you graduate for those that are doing PhD. Okay, so if you finish your master's in your country and you worked for, or you finish your undergrad and you work for minimum of 1 year or let's say 2 years before coming for your PhD. In fact, that's what I would advise. Well, not really, but if you have the option to work in a good job for 1 year, by the time you come to Canada, you already qualifying for what is called a federal skilled worker. While in school, you are processing your PRO and applying to the federal. Tons of people have applied even before they graduate. And then if you come with your spouse, you will be in school because they will give your spouse open work permit. Your spouse can work and for any employer while you are in school, like any employer full time. And then see the trick. You are in school, your spouse, it came in for masters, and then by the time your spouse work for 1 year, your spouse already qualified for some PR pathway. So that even before you finish your 2 years, you may even already have your permanent residency. For someone that I just finished my PhD like last month, but I already had my PR, I already have my permanent residency, so it's just how the system works if you know how to play, your game. And yeah, you will not be required to record, but when you apply for your visa, you must explain why you will return to your home country. Never say after my master's I'll go to a PhD. They will bounce your application. Just say, you know what? If I finish for my master's, I'm going back to start doing lecturing. I'm going to work for NAFDAC. I'm going to work for Tinubu or Buhari or this and that. And they like to say that. Yeah. You don't need IELTS in Canada if you graduate from Nigerian university. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hands down, Canada. The pathway is easier. Hands down, in Canada.
Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? Anybody with their hands raised up? I'm not sure. I can't see. I don't think I can see any of that. But I have questions that we've collated from the registration process. So number one, how?
Sorry, my hand has been up since.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I couldn't. I was trying to look for that. I'm quite sorry about that. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Peter and Unzube, for your presentation. I would say it has been very, very informative. But my question is directed at Unzube. For someone like me that is more in a biological science field, I am a graduate of microbiology, and I'm looking forward to applying for a PhD program directly to the US, because most of the schools in the US will tell you that there's no MSc. A lot of those schools will tell you that there's no MSc for microbiology courses. The ones that they have MSc for, they are not funded. So if you want to, and they'll tell you, if PhD is in your horizon, it's just advisable for you to just go ahead and apply for the PhD straight from your BSc. For someone like me, I've heard so many times that you have to have that specific question that you want to answer in your PhD, that's what gives you more more like they see that you know what you are doing or you know what you want to do. I know what I want to do. I know that whatever it is that I want to do, I want to end up working with anything that relates with infectious diseases and the likes. But I do not have that specific question that, like, you know, when you're writing your statement of purpose, they'll tell you, okay, this is the question that I'm coming in with that I want to answer. And I've seen a lot of people talk about how this is like an important thing for you to have. Like for someone like me now, the application window is open. We have now to December 1 to be able to figure out what we want to do. When October now, how do I go about that? How do I maneuver that and fix that up?
Okay. The good news for you is I'm in a PhD program, so I can help you answer that very well. One thing in life is that clarity comes with time. Clarity comes with time. When I was applying for my PhD, what I wrote, yes, it's very important that you have a question you want to answer. At least at that phase where you are in, there's something that's interesting you. You've mentioned now about infectious diseases. So at least you know that, okay, I want to do something in that line. We are not exactly sure of, okay, if that's what you're going to do throughout your PhD, but for now, that's what you're interested in. I would advise and suggest that you pick one infectious disease. So which one of them are you very passionate about, and read more on it, get an angle or a problem for that infectious disease that has not been handled, and pitch that as what you want to do when going into your program. With time, things might change. When I was applying for this PhD program, what I wrote in my statement of purpose was neuroscience, working with the brain. That's doing data science that has to do with that neuroscience aspect. But with time, now I've started doing things in line with my dissertation. I'm not doing anything related to that, and I'm now more in line with AI. So clarity will come with time. You might start off having an interest and intention, okay, this is what I want to do. And you get into the program, you start getting coursework, you are learning new things that you're interested in, that you would want to go through that whole dissertation long process in, because it has to be something you're interested in. Dissertation journey, yeah, it has to be something you're interested in. So pick one thing for now, build a very good story around it, and don't like bother yourself too much that, okay, I must stick through with this till the end and I have to find the perfect thing from the start. Not really. Clarity will come with time.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. But the thing about picking one infectious disease is that it can be very limiting. Like in the US, you see situations whereby they'll tell you that identify with 3 of our faculty members that align with your what you want to achieve. And in some schools, you can't even find up to 2. But like you can find maybe general pathogen interaction with cells, host pathogen interaction. You can find this professor is working on influenza virus, this other one is working on Ebola virus, and you can even find a professor that is working on about 4 or 5 viruses, but in relation with host pathogen interaction. That's why the identifying the specific virus or the specific infection that you want to work with can be very limiting. It can even be bacteria. And then people will tell you that don't shoot yourself in the leg, because people reviewing your application, one of them can be interested, and you've already got to go and mention that, oh, it's the influenza virus that I want to work with, and they'll be like, okay, let me not do that. So I don't know.
I think you mentioned the answer in your question actually, and I'm going to also piggyback on what Dr. Peter, sorry, mentioned as well. So you said you found 3 professors in this school that handle that area. Yes, it's your field. The question is, can you do that research? Can you, if they bring you into that lab, can you do the research? Can you do something in that area? If it's not the infectious disease now, and if it's that epidemiology area, can you do something there? If you can, then build a story around that and pick that as what you would like to do in the statement of purpose. So yeah, we're not trying to cage ourselves by picking an area that there is no one to receive us in that program. So none of the lecturers or professors in that program has any research interest in that. They won't bring you in. They won't admit you because they don't have the faculty to take care of you and see you through. So yes, you've done your research. You've found out their research areas, and this one that I want to do. Okay, these 3 people, these 4 people, that's what they are also doing. Then you make yourself a strong person for that program.
So let me just add to that. Say, my PhD now I did my PhD in cancer research. I never had I never thought about that one day I will be doing cancer research. See, at the end of the day, okay, your goal is to migrate primarily. Whether any kind of research that you're doing, you're going to learn it and you're going to start to enjoy it. So I've seen cases, people like, oh, I want to do this specific area of research, and nobody is really, I don't know about the US, in Canada, professors have gotten funding on what they want to do from whatever funding agency. Sometimes it's not what you pitch that you do. They already have something ready. I mentioned to you before that for my master's, the project that the professor had funding for is ready. The proposal is already done. You just have to come yourself, carry your bag, go there and start to learn about the research and start to do it. Okay, so when you are emailing supervisor, like if you go to the departmental website, okay, as much as possible, especially at the master's level, don't over narrow your search. You are not going to find a lot of professors. Make your search as wide as possible. And I always say, PhD is when you start to really specialize. Okay, by the time you finish your master's, you can decide, oh, I want to do PhD in this area specifically, or in this area, in this area, in this area. So a master is not really what you have to say. I must pick this virus. I must pick this bacteria. I must pick this. You're going to just not find a lot of professors to mention and to email. This is a number game. If you can't find one professor in a school that is doing what you are interested in, because you have to email them. So this is how you structure your email. This is my background. I've read some of the research. This particular one is interesting. However, I am also open to learning more about research opportunities that you have in your lab. So you always have to state that it's not just what I want. At the end of the day, you will learn the research. By the time you spend time in it, you will love it. Okay, so make your research as wide as possible for the master's, and then maybe in your PhD, you can even set. For my PhD, for example, I reached out to the professor. She already got the grant. There was already a topic. I mean, there are sometimes you have to develop a topic. Mine was a little bit different, right? And it works like that in different schools in Canada. My professor had a project. She needed someone to do that project. So when you're emailing her and you tell her, you know what, I want to do this particular one. So she's not going to leave the research she got the funding for and fund your idea. So you have to be generalistic. And so, oh, you work in cancer research. I'm generally interested in your area. So you don't pitch your idea too much. Pitch the professor's idea for the start. By the time you are writing your SOP for your admission, you already now have a professor you want to work with. You just channel your SOP to that professor. If it is that schools that don't require to get a professor, identify 3 areas, 3 professors that are working in an area that you like, and then see how you can touch on them. You just walk ahead, pick their brain ahead, and say, I'm interested in this because you know a professor that is working on it. Okay, that is kind of how you search. So that by the time they read it, they'll be like, oh, this person is really interested in what I'm doing. That is what I would say. And then if it's in the area in here where you have to write SOP that is not specific to a professor, then you can pitch your your big idea as, something like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your response. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
that.
very much for that. We're moving on to the next question. Or the next person in the queue, which is Mbuluakwe Onolaja. You may ask your question now.
Hi, good evening. So sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so I actually already left my question in the chat though. So I'll just read it. So my question is, so if someone already has like a master's degree in a particular course, but then you want to like have the same master's degree like in the same course, but you want to have it outside of Nigeria, how feasible is it? How possible is it? Did you get my question?
Yes, we
Yes, I
did.
did.
Thank
I was
you.
wondering if Canada wanted to go first, but okay.
Yeah, you go first. I can chime in. And maybe for this, I don't know, the speaker from France is still on. Yeah, she can also chime in at some point. I'm really here for those that want to stay as long as possible. At least I'm here to respond to your questions. Yeah.
All right. If you have a master's already and you want to come here for another master's, the question is your undergraduate CGPA, was it high enough? Like your profile without that master's, is it good enough? So your work experience, your undergraduate GPA, recommendation, all those things that you're submitting, is it good enough without it? Because you have to, if you're going to submit that master's to, as part of the things that would propel you and show you as the ideal candidate, then you have to tell the story of why a second master's, why go through this journey again? Since you've done this before, still the same course, why go through this journey again? What is it about? What didn't you get when you did it before that you're hoping to get now? And if you're able to pitch that very well, if you're able to pitch that, maybe there's a particular professor that you want to do research in this area, you didn't have the opportunity to do it in your previous masters, and you want to do it now in this masters, this particular professor, and probably you've reached out the professor already, the professor has told you to apply, that is now very strong. Yes, so I will not use it if, number one, the GPA is low of that master's. Yes, or number two, without it, I still have a strong profile. Yeah, that's the response I'll give.
So it really depends, okay? And I know there are a lot of research-based masters back in your Nigeria. So if your course is a research-based master, course-based master, you did a lot of course-based, you can pitch a story now that, yeah, the masters wasn't really heavy research-driven. Okay, now I want to do a research-based masters. I have tons of people that already had their masters back in Nigeria and they came here for another masters. Okay, so it's about telling it's about telling the story, and then you have to tell the story to the visa officer during your visa application. Because sometimes they will tell you, you already have masters, there is only to do another master, so you have to pitch to them why you are doing another master's, and it should not be exact same topic that you work on in your master's. You have the tendency to learn and relearn, but make sure there is something that the master's is added. Like Uzobe said, there's something that the master's is adding. And if your GPA for your bachelor's wasn't very high, now you've done a master's and you had very good grade, it's an advantage for you. Okay, it's an advantage for you because sometimes some of these professors, they like it when you already have an advanced degree. It's just beneficial to you because when you come, you're already a matured graduate student. So they're going to spend less time mentoring you. Okay, so you just have to think about what kind of extra thing has my current master's not achieved. If it is more research, more understanding of certain area, then you can do that. Always find a way to link it together, because I've had people that have maybe done master's MBA, right? Now they started working maybe after 2 years, they now doing maybe more of stuff, supply chain, logistics. They want to now specifically do a master's in logistics and supply chain. It's okay. You can explain that to the visa officer why you are doing another master. So it is possible. It is not a disadvantage. It is only a disadvantage if it's exact same thing you are doing in your masters that you did before, the same type of research. No, they are saying is just Java that is only added on top of it. It's going to be difficult. So find something unique. Yeah, it's not a disadvantage if you play your cards well.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. I think she's also thanking you in the chat. The next question is, after getting a fully funded scholarship, what are the other financial expenses or requirements that might be necessary for a seamless transition? This was a question someone asked in registration period. So
For the USA, there are still other things that have to be paid. You have to pay for your visa. You have to pay for your visa yourself. $185. Converting that to Naira based on the current exchange rate. You also have to pay for service fee. Service fee, you pay for that and you go with the receipt of payment for the visa interview. So you have to pay the service fee before the visa interview. And the service fee with taxes is $360. And it's valid for 1 year. So you're paying the visa fee, you're paying the service fee. Then, of course, you also have your flight money as well. You have to also plan for your accommodation when you come. So that first month, because rent is paid monthly over here. So that first month, you have to filter yourself. Within that month, your stipends can now start coming in that you use to handle the subsequent months. Yeah, so these are like part of the expenses that you have to bear in mind.
For Canada, yes, you still have to pay the application fee, and the biometrics is $235 Canadian dollars. So whether you got scholarship or not, that will be covered, and the flight fee, as you mentioned, will be covered by yourself, and at least I'll say 1 month expenses, because your scholarship might take 4 weeks to to come. I know for my case, when I came, I didn't have any money, so I had to beg them to get the scholarship disbursed within 2 weeks, and they were able to do that. But I'll say minimum of 1 month of at least rent and living expenses. Yeah. And then plan accommodation ahead. For my own case, I had to I had to register for a school accommodation, and then they channel the money to my overall student account. In some other cases, that I've seen people that will maybe get Airbnb for like a few days, and then when you come in, you can start looking for accommodation, or if you know somebody there that can help you secure accommodation, you can do that. But yeah, the scholarship, don't care where you live. That's your responsibility to figure out.
okay, thank you. I'm going to leave the floor open one last time. So anybody that has any question now can still drop it in the chat or raise a hand up. Another question I'll be taking from our registration list was going to be, what are common mistakes that people make in their applications, and how can they avoid those mistakes?
The biggest mistake that I've personally seen is rushing to submit. So your goal is just to submit. Hey, I've submitted an application. I applied to that school today. Yeah, I've applied to 10 schools. You'll see, like in the US, I post about this on my channel, school with no application fee. So they've reduced the barrier to entry, but that doesn't really give license to just mass apply, just apply anyhow. Yes, you should apply to multiple schools, but you have to be sure that for each school you're putting in your best. Like, you have to be sure that for each school you're putting in your best. You don't put the same statement of purpose in all the applications you are doing. No, that means your statement of purpose is generic. Already, if you can submit comfortably that statement of purpose to 3 different schools, it means it's generic. So you don't even need to do any other tests. That alone means it's generic. Because for your statement of purpose, you need to at least put the professor's name, put names of some professors in the program, put like things that are program specific. So 90% of all your SOPs might be the same, but at least that 10% you are changing it based on the program you're applying to. So you don't submit general applications. I think that's the first major mistake that I've seen people make. The second is belittling themselves. So because probably they didn't get a high GP, they now think, okay, this is not for me. Yes, there are people that didn't get, as I said, there's someone I just interviewed. She's gotten how many? 4 scholarships now. Different external scholarships in addition to GA, and she was on a low 2-1. She was on a low 2-1. So that's a lot of information, and now is now available. I didn't have this level of information when I was trying to study abroad in 2017, 2016. Yes, Peter has a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. The other speaker, she does. And there are several others now. Now the information is abundant. So you can't, there's no more excuse. Yeah, there are better ways to now package yourself. So I think I'll just hit on those 2.
For Canada, especially for those that are planning to get a scholarship via emailing supervisor, never send generic email. When they sense that this email can be sent to multiple professors, they just know that you are not serious. Okay, so each of the email must be tailored to a particular professor. In fact, I've had a case where somebody messaged my professor, and my professor is aware that I do a YouTube channel, and my professor didn't have funding, but my professor referred the person to me, at least to coach the person on how to send a good email. Because some emails are very, very annoying, and it gets them. I don't understand, and I don't like to mention names, and please don't give us bad reputation by sending an immature email. If you just go on Google and say how to send emails to supervisor, tons of videos you can find. I personally interviewed a professor on my channel and asked the professor, what do you look out for emails when people reach out to you? And then he outlined everything. So you must be very strategic and specific in your email. Okay, I've reviewed some emails and I was like, you will never get scholarship with this kind of email. So don't rush. Like also been mentioned, take your time to send the best quality emails. This is for those that require to get a supervisor. For research-based scholarship related, I don't offer, that don't require to get a supervisor. The only thing, the biggest leverage you have is your SOP and your letter of recommendation, because your CGPA, you can't change it. Certificate, you can't change it. Okay, so if you want to write GRE to boost your chances, I mean, it's up to you, you can do that. But your SOP, please spend some time, use ChatGPT, but don't use ChatGPT wrongly, because that thing can put you in trouble and give you some garbage and garbage out. So don't just say, I put it in and whatever. No, you should have a template, a draft in your mind, and then you can clean it up with ChatGPT if you want. Okay, so make sure your SOP, that when they read it, they'll be like, who is this guy? We want to learn more about this guy. This guy doesn't have a 4.0 GPA, it's just only 3.6, 3.7, but this person's SOP is the best that I've found. That can also improve your chances. So take your time. Watch Nozube's video if you want to go to the US about all the SOPs, and then I've talked about a lot on how to contact supervisors specifically in my videos. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think that brings us to the end of this session. I would like to appreciate everyone that is on this call, and especially our speakers. Thank you very much for your time and for this information that you've shared with us. This is very, very valuable information. So I implore everyone that is on this call, you can follow their YouTube channels to learn more information from their page. And yes, thank you very, very much. Oh, I think there's one more person raising up their hand. Oroluwa Olaiwola. Okay, we will take your question as quickly. Please try to tell us your question as quickly as you can. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this session. So my question is, from some of the videos I watched, I realized that the side in your SOP is not, professors don't want to hear that your plan is to break into the industry after whether your MSc or your PhD, that they prefer you saying you are going to be an academic or I want to be a professor in that field. So I want to know how true is that is it better to state that you want to break into the industry as a researcher, or just stick to the plan and say you're going to be an academic in the long run? Like, I mean, in terms of your goal, your long-term goals in your SOP.
I guess is one of the things I'll call the rumors of the whole application process, because I've seen both work. In my applications, I was coming from the angle that I wanted to be an academic, and I got scholarships through that. I've reviewed several other SOPs that they wanted to even work. This one is not even researcher, because researcher is still an academic somehow. But they wanted to work and they still got funded. So I would say you can stick to the popular this thing of being an academic. After all, the goal is to transition, just like Dr. Peter rightly said. That's the goal. At the end of the day, you will still adjust when you come here. Like, you will adjust a lot. You don't even know how much you can adjust until you are placed in that situation. So you can just put in that you plan to be an academic and all that, something in line with that they can understand and relate with, so that you make the move. Things can change with time.
Yeah, it's sometimes when you send emails for maybe for masters, like they said, just sometimes people mention that after my masters, I also plan to do a PhD. Sometimes they like it when they can keep you longer, because when they've trained you, they would love you to stay for a bit longer, maybe for PhD and stuff like that. So yeah, it's okay to mention that. I would say, don't personally, this is just me, and like Elizabeth said, it works differently for everybody. Don't really pitch that industry per se for contacting professors, because they are not in the industry, so you have to appeal to their emotion at that particular phase. Is purely academic, so stick to anything mostly academic for the most part. Yeah, maybe when you're in the program, like when you start having conversation with the prof, then you can say, yeah, when you are not there, or you have mind now to say, yeah, I think I want to try industry. They would like, yeah, you should be fine. So just stick to, what will make your life easier. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for
Well,
that
thank you.
answer. I think for everyone who is not looking at the chat, the YouTube name, website, and email addresses of both our speakers are on the chat, so you can take note of that in case you need to reach out to them in future. Also, like just to reiterate, Mr. Nzube he gave us two QR codes, one to his learning platform, where there is a 20%, like there's a coupon for people who are attending this webinar. which will be valid for 1 week, I think. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, 1 week. Yes.
Valid for 1 week. And also, please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channels of all our speakers. Miss Willie, Mr. Nzube, Mr. Peter, thank you very, very much for your time. We really appreciate you. And I think before we close this off, I would like to pass the baton to my good friend, who is also the founder of IGN Life Science Foundation, Davis Iban. Thank you very much, and I'll be signing off now. Goodbye. Hello, Davis. Are you on the call?
Everyone hear me?
Okay. You may go ahead.
Can everyone hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't appreciate our speakers enough for taking their time to be here. Dr. Peter, Mr. Nzube, and Ms. Songura. Thank you so much. And for everyone that took the time to be here, I know how much they say time is money. So it's a pleasure to have everyone here, I'm sure, and I hope everyone learned it, too, about applications. Like our speaker said, applications are open, so you just go with what you've learned today, try it out, reach out to them. Their emails are there. Yeah, just to remind us that this call is recorded, so it will be on our YouTube channel as soon as possible. You can also follow us on IGN. This is just one of the things that we do. Aside from webinars, we also have career talks and science fairs. But the main goal is to promote life science in among students, Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. So thank you very much, everyone. See you again next time. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Please, can we get record?
Yes, the
Sorry, I
recording of
joined
this. The recording of this meeting will be available